Hello everyone, this is the last and final part of my series tutorial of how to solve the Rubik's Cube. Today we'll be going over the last edges and how to permutate them or get them in the right spots. So the first cases that we will run into are where 3 of these edges are not in place. Everything else is, and this back one is, but these 3 are not. So, for this, I learned it without using notation, just by memory of look, but if you want to use notation still, here's a simple algorithm that will help you get through all of these. So, if you need to get this piece on the left over to the right, so if you can look at the piece that's on the left with the solved in the back, the piece that's on the left, if it needs to go over to the right and it needs to go to this line, then this is the algorithm you'll use. Front 2, up, right inverse, left, front 2, right, left inverse, up, front 2. Now, if you're wanting to learn this without using notation, and you just want to learn it by the way I learned it, then I will teach it. So, we need to get this piece. Okay, so we need to get this piece over to here again. So, what I always learned was, if you need to get this piece over to here, you take whatever's in front of you, turn it upside down, and this color, you would always take whichever side has the same color, and you would move it towards it. And now that you have this lined up, you move these 2 down, then flip it, move these 2 back up, you take this color again that's over here, and line it back up, and then just flip it to solve it. So now I'll go over the other one, which is just the same thing but with a few different moves. So here we have the next case, which is the same thing where we have the back solved and 3 edges that need to be put in the right place. But instead, this time, the piece that's on the right is what needs to go over here, because this white needs to match up with these whites all over here. So instead, the algorithm we will use is front 2, up inverse, right inverse, left, front 2, right, left inverse, up inverse, front 2. And that will solve your cube. So, if you want to use the algorithm, or the way that I learned to do it, then I will teach that. Oops. Excuse that. Let's just get it back to where we need it. So, for this piece to go over here, if you want to use the way that I learned it, you always take, this in the back is solved, so you take this front one, in between these 2, you turn it to the bottom, and whichever color matches this, so it's not this one, because that doesn't match, but if you do this one, these match. Then you turn these 2 down, you flip it, turn these 2 back up, and then you take this one again and line it back up with it, and you just flip it to solve it. So now we've covered the 2 different 3-edge cycles. So now let's move on to the 4-edge cycles. So for the 4-edge cycles, we have 2 different cases that can happen. We can either have this one, where these 2 need to be swapped across from each other, and these 2 need to be swapped across from each other, kind of like a plus sign. This one needs to go there, and these need to swap, and these need to go there. The second case is where if you hold it and your corners all line up on all your sides, then these need to swap, and these in the back need to swap. Adjacent swaps like this and that. So, the easiest way to handle these is by using the same algorithms we used, but with the same exact algorithm, but if you learned it with the picture method, the way that I learned it, then you just have to use a little bit more thinking. So let's get to that. So for the first case, the plus case, where these two need to swap and this one needs to swap with this one, the easiest thing to do is to do the same exact algorithm as either one of those, either one of the 3 edge cycle ones. But if you learned it with the picture method, you'll do this. The front 2, or flipping it upside down, and since there's no thing to line up here, you can go either way. So let's just choose this one. And then, so that would be an up. And then you do the same thing with a right inverse and a left, bringing these two down. A front 2, flipping them. A right and a left inverse, or bringing these two up. Then you'd bring the same way that you had moved it, you move it this way again, so that would be another up. And then you do an F2, or flip it back up. Now that will give you one of the 3 edge cycles. So then you can just go ahead and use the algorithm to solve it. And there you go. So now let's move on to the next case. So this is the final and last case that we will be talking about and solving. It's where these two need to swap and these two need to swap. And the same way with the other one, the easiest way to do it is to use the algorithms like before, but this one's a little easier because these are adjacent. So you do an F2, and since these are messed up, the best way to hold this one is just to where the adjacents, the 2 colors that need to swap, are at your right and front. So these two need to swap, so this. If you want to hold it with these two, then you would hold it like this. So you would do a front 2, or flip this to the bottom, do a U, or you can line these, say you can line these up, you do a right inverse and a left, or bring these two down, a front 2, or flip it, do a right or a left and a left inverse, or just bring those two back up. The same move that you did before, or a U, and then flip it back up with an F2. And then that will give you one of the other 3 cycle cases, which you can then just use the algorithm and solve. So that's all you really need to learn to solve a Rubik's Cube. It will take time and it will take effort, but if you take the algorithms, learn them, and practice for a while, say around 2 weeks to a month, you will be able to solve it without having to look at the algorithms, as long as you try and practice. So, thank you so much for watching. If there are any comments or concerns, please leave one and tell me if I had missed anything, which I don't think I did, or anything else you would like to see, or any tips to if you want an advanced tutorial on how to get faster, or if you want a slower tutorial for anyone that needs it just a little bit slower, then go right ahead. I'd be glad to do so. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all like this little tutorial series, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.